Hello and welcome to another episode of trying not to muck things up. In this episode I have here a replica Colt 1911 US Army holster from the Second World War, and my plan today is utilising some black leather dye, turn this into a early Vietnam War holster, and hopefully you'll follow me through this process. So it's not a difficult process. There's some couple of things that you do need to start off with. The first thing is acetone, I'm led to believe, and what you do with the acetone is you put it on a cloth and then you rub it on the leather to get rid of all of the waxes and the like, so you basically have a blank canvas to put the dye on. The other benefit with acetone is it doesn't take too long to dry. So as you can see here, I'm rubbing it down. And I'm only going to do the outside. So my research shows that at the end of the Second World War, when the Americans decided to go from brown leather to black leather, rather than just solely producing brand new black leather holsters, they had a huge surplus of brown leather. So what they did was get the brown leather holsters and paint them black. It's as simple as that. How well they painted these black or dyed them black, I don't know. I can't imagine they would spend anywhere near as much time as I have prepping the surface for it. So cleaned up with acetone. Don't know. Let's have a read the instructions. So clean leather thoroughly with deglazer to remove all the old polish and finish. While damp from cleaning, apply dye evenly with Dauber. A second coat of dye may be applied if required. After dyeing, remove excess with a surface cloth. For high gloss, use Resolin as a top finish. So, don't need to shake the bottle according to the instructions, and instantaneously you can see this is going to be messy. Should have worn gloves. My advice to anyone doing this is wear gloves, because this is leather dye, and what's leather? It's skin. So just putting it on. covering it everywhere. I'm not going to be overly fussy or neat. The whole lot is just going to get painted on the outside. This is 118 millilitres or 4 fluid ounces of dye. You can get much larger bottles, but if you're doing a project like this, genuinely don't waste your money. This is more than enough. Am I an expert at dyeing leather? No. Have I watched a YouTube video that shows me how to do it? On a pair of Italian brown boots? Yes, I have. But leather's leather. Well, I'm sure some of you might disagree with me on that one. For the purposes of this though, leather is leather. So I'm giving it a generous coat. I don't know how generous you're meant to be with this stuff. I'm not too worried about any of the brass work on here. Equally, I'm not going to lose any sleep if the black leather dye seeps through onto this inside surface. Just going into this all guns blazing, a complete novice, and hoping I don't muck it up. The reason I decided to do this is that a brand new leather holster, a cheap one, replica, is £20 minimum. This die was a tenner, and these little cotton bud things were like £1. So I've saved myself like £10 if you include postage. Postage was free on all of the leather dye, whereas trying to get the holsters, everywhere I looked, the cheapest ones for £20 didn't include postage. So it would have been at least £3 or £4 postage. You can see there where it's gone through. So do you know what? Let's paint that or dye that. What's the harm? And you have to imagine that some soldier or employee of the US Army was tasked with dyeing this. They probably just dipped it in a vat of dye, and that was it. But working on the premise, there was a little bit more to it than that. I have no doubt that they probably spilt stuff or started off painting the insides. I suppose the question that you have is, how far do you go in? I'll tell you what, that far. I'm not going any further than that. And that's it. So that is the first coat applied. Make sure I don't miss anything. And I'll let that dry. So let's read that instructions again. While damp for cleaning, apply in a dauber. Second coat of dye may be applied if required after dyeing. Doesn't give you a time frame of how long you need to leave it for. I imagine because it's a dye, it happens pretty quickly. But I'll leave it for a bit, let everything kind of soak up and settle in. So if you're an impatient human being like me, and you just shoot from the hip with doing something, and do no preparation, then this is as mucky as you're going to get. What I'll do is I'll end the film here, and then I'll come back to you with an update on what one coat looks like and whether I need a second coat, and two, how difficult it was to clean all of this up. So watch this space. Welcome back. So getting the dye off with some dish soap is relatively straightforward. Actually, I was surprised at how quickly it came off of your skin. You can see here where I've got little rough patches or in the nooks and crannies. That's a bruise, by the way. That's more accurate, really. Gets it right in the nooks and crannies, but every time you wash your hands, that will wash more and more out. So does it stain massively? Not your skin anyway. The old cutting mat that I've used, naively, acetone removes the grid, painted on grid, but it does a very good job of removing the leather dye. On the metal, you can see it just wipes off straight away. So it doesn't leave a stain. It feels tacky. Now, I imagine that this will A, improve with time, and B, improve when you put some leather care product on it to give it a satin sheen. Finish wise, when you take this out into natural daylight, which I don't know whether it's me, but that kind of has a browny black hue to it, so I think that needs another coat of black paint. Here goes coat number 2. I think what I'm going to do here is speed up the footage.
A few moments later.
Right, so here we go. This is a holster with 2 coats of the black leather dye applied, and yes, it's gone really well. I couldn't have asked for better. Here's it all attached to my belt kit that I use for my reenacting. You can see inside nice and empty chamber, because I know everyone It's very gun safe, quite rightfully. Plus it's not a real one anyway. Because here in the UK, owning a real one of these is very, very difficult indeed, nigh on impossible. So you have to do with BB guns, basically. This is a full metal BB gun, but enough about that. Let's focus on the holster, which is why you're here. So this is somewhat, probably 2 weeks after I shot the initial video. After I applied the second coat of the dye, I left it to dry. I came back 24 hours later and it still had that tacky, sticky kind of damp feel to it. Long story short, you have to buff it to remove the excess dye and get the satin finish that you see here. I didn't want it too shiny, so I didn't buff it too much, but enough to get the dye off. And what I mean by buffing is literally getting a cloth and buffing it until you don't get any black dye on your cloth, because that's the excess dye coming off. And then once you've done that, it's done. There's nothing else to do. It's complete. So there you go. What I'll do is I'll take it out into the natural light so you can see what 2 coats of the black dye looks like in natural light. But apart from that, this is the finished product. There's my dog. And here it is in the natural light. You can see bits that I've missed right down in the nooks there, but you can't see that. The obvious brown tint has gone. However, you can still see through the black, but it's negligible. And that's it. There you go. Done. As usual, if you've enjoyed the content, please like, share, subscribe and comment, and I'll see you later.